So this channel is all about backpacking and hiking. What am I doing making a video about bushcrafting? Well, I want to show you today how I think bushcrafting skills are essential for hikers. So stick around, I'll show you a few things. So there's around 61 million people that participate in some kind of hiking event in the United States every year. And about 2,000 of those get lost and need to be rescued. Now among those, day hikers are the most vulnerable because they're the least likely to have, the gear and the experience to be able to spend the night out here in the wild if they have to. Yes, in spite of everyone talking about bringing the 10 essentials with them hiking, some people still don't. Of course, no one comes out here expecting to get lost, so why bring the stuff that you might need in case you get lost, right?
Don't be a fool.
Logical, I suppose. And many don't have the skills to build a fire or a shelter out of raw materials you might find out here in the wild. For instance, think about situations where you might have to. You might get lost, you might get injured, or someone that you might see along the trail or that you might be with might need you to stick with them because they might be injured or need your help. And you, having practiced basic bushcrafting skills, would know how to build a fire, would know how to build a shelter, would know how to treat water, would know how to just have basic survival skills. Now these are things that you might never need. It's actually kind of rare, but in the event that you do, it's going to be life-saving. So that's why we talk about having the 10 essentials. That's why we talk about these basic bushcrafting skills that you will need possibly someday to save your life. So let's start with the basic shelter. Here I have a 10 by 10 tarp that I set up a basic shelter with. This is one of my 10 essential items. I also have a poncho that I can set up as a shelter as well. So let me show you the tarp here. This is one setup. There are many different setups that you can have for a 10 by 10 tarp. This one has a nice ground floor. It has a nice fully enclosed shelter in case you need it for the wind and the rain. And I have another video coming out soon that'll talk about how to make this one. We also have this little poncho here that we can set up as a makeshift shelter. It's much less substantial than what this 10 by 10 tarp is, but in a pinch, it can save your life. A knife is also another important piece of gear item you might have. All kinds of uses for a knife, right? You can process your wood for fire. You can make little stakes for your tent stakes. Basically anything that you need a sharp edge for, a knife will come in handy for that. Now this is a Gerber strong arm knife. It's a little bit more hefty than what you might carry on a short hike, so maybe a smaller knife like this will do the same thing. There's probably hundreds of different knives out there that you can get, but having a sharp blade would be important in an emergency situation. Now another of your 10 essentials that you want to bring with you that is also a bushcrafting kind of a skill is to build a fire. So you need a fire kit of some sort. Now you could bring along a simple lighter, but lighters, when they get wet, when the flint gets wet, it doesn't spark anymore and it's not very good. So if there's a chance of you getting your lighter wet, then that's a risk you'll have to take. There are other things that I like to bring. You can see I have some cotton balls here that are soaked in petroleum jelly. I have one flint and steel kind of a thing here going on. I have my ferro, I think that's a ferro rod there. This is magnesium strip on it. I have another ferro rod here. This little pouch here I have little shavings that I use to start a fire. Throw a spark on this and it starts up right away. This is shaved fat wood, by the way. Down here I have some birch bark that I got from up north. That's real handy. And over here I have some fat wood, just little strips of fat wood. You could also bring along some matches. I got some matches here that are waterproof matches actually, but I also put them inside of a plastic bag, and that'll help keep them dry. But the thing with matches is, once you run out of matches, you have no more matches. Whereas some kind of flint and steel or ferro rod, this will last you a very long time. And if you know how to collect some tinder and you know how to start a fire with those sparks, it's something that will last you months if you need to out in the wild. There she goes. So you see I have a lot of different ways to start a fire here. Bringing all of this is probably unnecessary, but I wanted to show you some options. To make your survival experience a little bit better, having some cordage with you will help out. Of course, you can build a shelter without any cordage, but it makes it a lot easier if you have some cords with you. Now, there's all kind of cordage you can buy out there, but the most common is 550 or 750 paracord. Here I have 750 paracord. And what the 750 and 550 means is the minimum breaking strength, right? So this will stand up to 750 pounds. Of course, this stuff comes in all kinds of colors. This is a camel one, which probably isn't, you know, the best color for a survival situation. You probably want a brighter color, like a fluorescent yellow or an orange color or red or something that's a little bit brighter than this. Now, when you're cutting paracord, it's good to remember that it will fray on the ends. Right here I have an end that I've sealed with a lighter. So you just get a candle or a lighter after you cut it, and you start to melt the end here a little bit until it gets a little bit looking like that. And that will seal it and it'll keep it from fraying. So just know that with paracord you have a little bit of maintenance to do when you're cutting it up in different lengths. Another good cord to have with you is a bank line. Now, I like the size 36. That's size 36 right there. Compared to paracord, you can see it's about half the width. And this is tarred and it's twisted. It's best to get this. Don't get the braided version. The twisted pair is a lot easier to take apart if you need to say create some thread or something to repair some equipment. And this I find a little bit easier to work with, and this is tarred. When you get it, you smell it, it smells like tar because it's coated or it's soaked in tar. It's not dripping or sticky or anything like that, but it gives it a nice waterproof coating, and it helps it last a little bit longer out here if you have any kind of long-term plans for using this kind of cordage. So, okay, 50 foot is a good length to have with any cordage that you bring. That'll give you enough to cut up some guy lines, maybe make a ridge line, or really anything that you need to do with cord. But 50 foot is a good, safe amount to have with you. So, there you go. And of course, cordage does you no good if you don't know how to use it. So practicing knots, the knots that you're going to use out here most often, is a great idea. In fact, practice them so much that it becomes muscle memory. I remember when I was a Boy Scout and we had to learn our knots and we were tested on it. It was just over and over and over again. You just keep practicing it until it just becomes like brainless activity. So things like, you know, bowl-ins, taut lines, chuckers, hitches, you know. I'll have a video about what I consider essential knots that you should know out very soon, so stay tuned for that. Water treatment is another skill that you should have. Now, if you don't bring along a filter, like I typically bring my Sawyer Squeeze, certainly that's a good option. There's more primitive methods, like you can use gravel and sand and even charcoal to filter out your water. That'll get it clean, but it won't get the bacteria out. Boiling is always the best option for any kind of water sanitation, water purification. Boiling for a few minutes will get out all the yuckies that are in any water up here out hiking. So that's the best treatment. Of course, to do that you'll need a little pot, and you need some kind of fire, making fire, right? So that's why that's important, because without water you really can't survive for very long. Another great emergency thing to do for water treatment is to have aqua tabs. Put them the right way, David. These are just little tablets that you can drop in your water to purify your water. You know, this is just in case you can't, for whatever reason, build a fire, or maybe you don't have a pot to boil your water. At least you'll have something to purify your water. Now, don't get these wet, because they'll just dissolve and get ugly. So put them in a nice waterproof bag. They're already wrapped up pretty good in what looks like a waterproof kind of container, but I don't take any chances with that. And you can see here, there's two little tabs, right? They're just tiny little tabs. You just drop them in your water, read the packaging and the instructions to make sure that you're dropping the right amount into your water. Different size containers will require a different number of these tabs. So I always bring, 10 or 12 tabs with me every time I go out. There's also a number of other skills that I haven't covered here that are great to know in a survival situation, like navigation, like first aid treatment, like how to get food. Food is one of those things that you worry about a little bit later, because water is essential. Food can wait a few days if it needs to, so I always kind of talk about the food stuff a little bit later for like long-term survival stuff, so not applicable here. But maybe in another video I'll talk about navigation or first aid or some other things like that, but it's not for this video. I appreciate you tuning in. There's links down below for all of the gear that I've talked about here. If you click on that stuff, it helps me out in this channel because there's a little bit of an affiliate fee, no cost to you, if you click on that and you go buy some gear that I'm recommending here. So I appreciate that. Keeps this channel going. And as always, go live like you want it, man. I'll see you on the trail. Hey, this is David on Earth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And go to the website for some deals on gear. All right, see you on the trail.